discussing the concept of irony, November 1996.
The problem is in the age of hip, where everything's got to be cool and hip, something which we've never ever chased, the only way people can translate what we do into hip is by saying it's done as ironic detachment. That immediately, when you say detachment, that immediately plunges it into the realms of cool and hip. And so, so it's quite nice. People then think what you're doing is cool and hip. But in fact, there is very little that we do that's got ironic detachment about it.
And therein lies the irony.
And therein, yeah, that's a good point.
Isn't it ironic?
With us, when we are ironic, it's an ironic sense of humour. So the first ironic record we made was Let's Make Lots of Money.
Oh, was that meant to be ironic?
It's your title.
Well, I didn't mean it ironically.
Didn't you?
Oh, let's make tons of money, tons of dosh.
I think you did, actually.
You post-rationalised it, because you thought it wouldn't be right on to sing that, really.
I wouldn't have wanted to sing it anyway, non-ironically.
No.
I thought it was a sort of, I thought it was meant to be ironic. Anyway, I think you did too. I think Chris is being ironic right now.
I mean, it's a very exciting time musically because there were all the sort of underground clubs used to play a type of music that no one else ever heard. Whereas these days, everyone hears the same music. At that time, there was a whole genre of music that very few people knew about. A lot of the high energy music and Patrick Cowley and all that kind of, really simple electronic stuff with a great atmosphere and a lot of energy to it. And you felt that you were part of a fantastic, privileged sort of clique. You felt that you were tapped into something new and you could use that as a vehicle for you expressing your own music.
It was in heaven, somewhere like that, I can't remember where, that Chris heard Passion by Bobby O. And he asked the DJ what the record was, and the DJ said it's Passion by the Flirts. And this particular record suddenly became a major inspiration for what we were trying to do.
Listening back to unfinished songs, August 1996.
Hey, I've done one of those for a while.
Time for more of these. I used to like music when it was like this. Sorry.
It's like Passion,
I did.
P-A-S-S.
When I first heard Passion by the Flirts, I just thought, this is so great that I don't need anything that I've ever heard before. I just thought this is the starting point of everything that I'm going to like. And it was so minimal in electronic. I just loved the fact that the bass line was just an octave, just so simple and yet so strong. It made me feel totally exhilarated. I used to play it non-stop and the record just built and built and built. And the way the song built into this climax.
I wanna be a woman, come on and be my man. This feeling that I have for you, I understand.
It seemed like a totally new form of music to me. It was just going to change everything. Everything else just become redundant at that point. And then kept hearing other records that I discovered were also Bobby O. Not necessarily the same, but things like She Has a Way. I was just totally inspired by it. Yeah, like I do. I mean, that's what I'm like. I get really excited by things like that.
Unfinished Songs, August 1996.
I love stuff like this, I'm sorry. I can't help it. Very 80s sounding.
I need you.
I've always liked that. I don't think we're 80s enough. That's our problem.
Let's just be 80s. Everyone wants from us.
No, I didn't know anything about Bobby O at all. Just that his name appeared on all these records. And also it was very exciting because they were only available on import and they were quite expensive. So you really felt that you were getting something rather special, something you could only get from 2 record shops in London or something. And I don't know what I thought Bobby O would be like. I probably just thought he was some old producer sort of person, not what we discovered he was, some sort of funky Italian mad type of person.
I was editing the Smash Hits yearbook, and they needed someone to interview the police in New York. And I said, if I don't want to do that, I don't really like the police, can't you get someone else to do it? And I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and see Bobby O and play him our demo tape that we've been making. And I told Chris that it was a great idea.
This quasi-shy, nervous-looking guy walks in the room, about in his 20s, very clean cut, and he said, "Oh, hi, I'm Neil Tennant. I'm a big fan of yours, and here I am." I always love talking to people who have been fans of mine.
I think he'd forgotten I was coming, maybe. But anyway, he perked up, and we went down to the cafe, the Applejack, for lunch, and we just chatted about the records, and music. And towards the end of the lunch, I mentioned that I was in this sort of group, and he immediately said, "Oh, let's make a record." I was completely astonished. I said, "But you haven't heard anything yet." And he said, "Anyone can make a record, can't they?" kind of thing.
He had, of course, had a British accent because he's British, and at that time, British accents were very in vogue. So I thought, when it turned out that he was an artist, I thought, well, let's see if there's anything here, because he did have this British accent, and that in itself was intriguing from our company's perspective because we didn't have any British artists at that time. There was something about Neil that I thought would be interesting. Specifically, if there was some way we could take this image of this kind of guilty-looking, innocent-looking, Catholic-looking, proper-looking British guy and package it in a way where it would cater to a high-energy disco audience, but not really say anything.
And so we went back to his office and I played him. And that spent lots of money, the original demo version. And he said, "Wow, I could do that. I could do this. I could do this." And I remember thinking, well, I'm sure you could. I mean, it's based on you, ultimately, let's face it.
Answering questions from fans, November 1996.
Oh, God. What advice would you give to someone who wants to be a musician? Give up. That's from Marin's Santa Fe.
If you think you're any good, stick at it. Well, it's true. And also just keep doing it,
Yeah,
Don't
just do it if
expect-
you enjoy doing it, and then something might happen if you're lucky. If it's meant to happen. If not, give up.
When people say how, I've sent all my tapes to AR departments, and I can't get any notice, that's why
That's
I
what
would
we
say.
did. Didn't work.
Yeah, that didn't work.
Doesn't
well,
work.
we met Bobby O. That was a different thing. Well, we went for the niche that we wanted to be in, didn't we? As we still do. We still do. We went to
still
the
in it.
person who we were copying and asked to introduce our records. And it worked. It was like the most exciting thing that ever happened in my life. I was just on cloud 9 thinking, wow, we're going to make a record with Bobby O. I can't believe it.
I got phone calls saying, "I've met Bobby O and he wants to do a record with us," and I just couldn't believe it. I was like, couldn't sleep on that. I was really, really, really excited. Just the thought of going to America, because I'd never imagined even going to America in my life. It just seemed ridiculous,
I thought of this rap one day. I was staying at my cousin's house in Nottingham, and we'd been watching some Jimmy Cagney kind of gangster film. And when I went to bed, the lines, "Sometimes you're better off dead, there's a gun in your hand, and it's pointing at your head," came into my mind, and so I got out of bed and wrote them down on a piece of paper. I loved the record, The Message by Grandmaster Flash. I was always wanting to do something like that. When I got back to London, I lay on my floor in my flat, and it did as a sort of stream of consciousness thing. I was just kind of going for it, and I was speaking it to myself in a kind of rap voice. It was kind of meaningless in a way, but it sort of sounded exciting, and it maybe did mean something as well. I used to spend hours rationalising it afterwards.
You are listening to the document.